In September 1978, 15-year-old Mary Vincent was hitchhiking to Corona, California after running away from home. She graciously accepted a ride from 51-year-old Lawrence Singleton. When Mary realized that Lawrence was headed in the wrong direction, she got nervous and felt that she was in danger. Nothing could have prepared Mary for what happened next. I'm Marina. With me, I have my best friend Laura, and this is Grim.
Okay.
All right.
We're in silence because we're always looking to optimize over here in Grim World, and we have gone through like 3 different types of microphone stands. The very first one attached to a table, and it didn't attach to the table. Marina would have to like jury rig it with like
Painters, stirring sticks, and spoons.
And then we went to floor stands, but those were the ones you would always hear me hit the microphone stand because it like touches the table and you'd hear my creaky bones. And so we finally went back to, which I think we had a way originally, table stands, and we were just talking about, we don't remember why we swapped out of those, but now we're just trying to reacclimate to the table stands.
And I feel like I'm...
And Marina's cats have an opinion about it.
They do.
As usual.
That's Finny, per usual.
Always. It's always Finny.
I was also commenting that I feel like my voice sounds louder and different. So.
You shouldn't have said that, though, because now that's what the gremlins will hear the whole time. It does not sound any different. You sound fine.
Okay, well, if it does sound different, let us know, and I'll
But don't
stand
let us know,
further away from
do.
I'll just stand further away from the microphone. Oh, man. Okay. See? It's Finny again.
There's so many cats here.
There's a lot of cats. Was it yesterday I was calling one cat? All of them came to me. My husband was like, you look like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura. Like, they just flocked to me.
I was going to say, do you notice she didn't say both? Meaning there are more than 2 cats. In fact, there are more than 3 cats.
I have 4. It's
4
too many.
Cats.
I don't recommend.
It's too many.
It's too many cats.
Too many cats.
Okay, so everyone was so pleased with me over the Allison Boda case that I figured I would follow it up with another absolutely insane, unfathomable story.
Oh, you are the queen of unfathomable.
Yes, and I learned about this case from talking with our horse coupon gremlin, Flame Sparrow.
We love you, Flame Sparrow.
So that's who you have to thank for this assault on your ear holes.
If you want to talk to her, you can come join our Discord server. I'm not signing you up for that, Flame Sparrow. I'm just, you're there. And we're there, and it's a great place.
And everyone's there.
Everyone's there.
So for this case, I tried to read every article I came across on the internet, but I relied mostly on some of the meatier ones from the Las Vegas Sun, People Magazine, Open Ceiling Magazine, the San Francisco Inquirer, and the Los Angeles Times.
Wow.
But before we jump into it, we have a ton of Patreon shout-outs.
Oh, boy. Got my shoulders going already.
You guys are the best. It might be because I remembered to catch up on all the Instagram posts and people were like, 5 new bonus episodes. Holy moly. First up, we have Kendall.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Kendall.
Thank you.
We have Young Calypso.
Calypso. What up?
It makes me think of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Calypso. Yeah, maybe that's why. Is that old Calypso? I don't know.
Amber J.
Amber J. We love you. Thank you, Amber.
William K.
William K. We love you, William.
JC.
JC. We love you, Jay.
I was going to say
J and then the last name C.
C.
Okay.
I was going to say not to be confused with JZ.
Okay.
It's JC.
Okay.
Jaren R.
Jaren R. Woo!
We love you, Jaren R. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Renna S.
Renna. Woo! Woo! We love you, Renna.
We love you, Renna. Caitlin C.
Caitlin. We love you. Why do we do the same things?
I
don't know. We love you, Caitlin.
I kind of like our harmonized whoop
When
whooping.
I think about it, though, I get really stressed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
JTS.
JTS.
We love you.
We love you.
Felicia. I think it's an I. Felicia I. It's either an I or a lowercase L. No, it's typing. But I couldn't tell from looking at it. I think it's an uppercase I.
Why sans serif fonts are not great.
Okay. Felicia L, we love
Felicia.
you. Woo, woo.
We love you, Felicia.
Katie K.
Katie K.
Woo, we love you,
We love
Katie.
you. Thank you, Katie.
By the way, we're only halfway through.
Oh.
Ashley K.
Ashley K.
Ashley, we love you.
We love
Whoop,
you.
whoop, whoop. Abby Lou.
Abby,
Lou.
woo.
We love you.
We love you. Thank you.
Shelby S.
Shelby.
we love you,
We
Shelby.
love you.
Paige M.
Paige.
we love.
We love you, Paige.
I refuse. Avery F.
Avery, we love
We
you.
love you, Avery.
Woo.
Thank you so much. Josephine W.
Josephine.
We love you, Josephine.
you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kirsten W.
Kirsten,
we love you. We love you so
We
much,
love you.
Kirsten. Sally K.
Sally. Woo.
We love you, Sally. We love you so much.
We love you. Thank you.
Jasmine M.
Jasmine. We love you, Jasmine.
We
Thank
love
you very
Jasmine.
much.
Thank you. Megan P.
Megan.
Woo, Megan.
We love you,
We love
Megan.
you so much.
Thank you.
Nicole B. Oh,
Nicole.
Nicole B. We love you. That one was special.
That was a good one.
Connie T.
Connie. Woo.
We love you
Connie.
so much. Guys, we love you guys so much. That was actually very entertaining for
great. We didn't record any of that. I'm just
Stop
kidding.
it.
She knows that. I'm just kidding.
No, Laura is a hawk over our record
Yeah,
button.
we get very stressed out.
She misses maybe like one sentence when we have tech problems. She's like, the
Yeah.
light's off. And she missed like 3 words.
And I do it while I'm reading my notes
Yeah.
many of the time.
Very talented.
Many time.
Many of the time. Many much time.
Whew, that's so many people.
You
Thank
guys
you so
are
much.
literally
Holy
the
moly.
best. I cannot explain to you the joy that it brings us to have
is,
you as
yeah.
Patreons.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
We try to deliver for you, and we appreciate you.
We love you. Okay, so let's ruin Laura's night again. Okay. We are talking about sweet Mary Vincent.
That sounds great.
It does. Mm-hmm. Mary Belle Vincent was born on May 17th, 1963 to Lucy and Herbert Vincent. Another
Herbert and spices.
Herberts and spices. Herbert met Lucy at a restaurant in the Philippines while he was serving in the military, and they fell in love, got married, and started a large family. Mary, a middle child, was one of 7 children in the Vincent family,
Wow.
with 3 sisters and 3 brothers. Herbert still served in the military during Mary's childhood, so the family moved around a lot. Mary lived in California, Ohio, and Reno, Nevada before the family settled down in Las Vegas in 1970. And this was around when Mary was around 7 years old.
Okay.
Herbert picked up a job as a slot machine mechanic, and Lucy was a blackjack dealer at the Stardust Hotel.
I never really thought about the fact that you need maintenance on slot machines, but
Yeah.
I also would not have called it a mechanic, but that's pretty cool. It looks good under here.
Well, actually, it probably was very mechanical back in the
for
70s.
Sure. No, I guess I was thinking mechanic, mostly cars. Obviously, you can do other things.
Yeah. And I was thinking digital slot machines, but that's not in the 70s.
No.
It was like the cherries with the
Yeah.
wheel and the...
Yeah.
Anyways.
Bar. Yeah.
Bar. We digress. As a child, Mary was described as quiet and well-mannered. She was creative, artistic, and loved to dance. When she was 13 years old, she performed the opening solo for the Miss Universe pageant in Las Vegas.
Wow.
She was skilled on stage and in the dressing room doing the hair and makeup of her fellow performers. Mary's star was shining bright.
Aww.
But that glow was dimmed by the messy divorce her parents were going through by 1978.
And that was, I think divorce was far less common then.
I'm sure.
Right? So that was a big deal.
Right. At that time, she was 15 years old, a young teenager learning the ways of the world, but her parents were wrapped up in their own turmoil and failed to give Mary the love and attention she needed during these important years.
Oh, no.
Mary rebelled, skipping school and wearing makeup against her parents' wishes.
Haven't we all?
Little rebel. She decided she no longer wanted to live with her parents and took the opportunity to leave one day when her sister told her to run. She said her father was on his way home with one of his migraines and that he was mad at Mary. Oh, no. So Mary noped right out of there to save her hide.
How old was she at that?
15.
Okay.
So I didn't read anything that her father was abusive, but it might have just been one of those, like, he's a military guy. He might have just been tough. And she was like, you know what? I don't want to live here anyway. So
And things were very different in that time period.
Yeah.
So what would have made the news as abusive now
Right.
might not have then. So
correct.
Yeah.
So Mary decided she belonged in San Francisco with like-minded artists, but she needed a ride. So she hitchhiked.
With Ed Kemper?
No, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Uneventfully, she made it to San Fran.
Okay. Yep.
Once there, she spent her nights sleeping on the streets or in unlocked cars. After a few months, I almost read those two lines together. I was going to say unlocked parents. I was like, no. Sorry. After a few months, Mary began to get homesick, but she wasn't ready to deal with her parents, so she decided to head to her grandfather's house, which was in Corona, California, almost an hour east from LA and about 400 miles from her current destination.
Jeez.
So not that close. Kind of blows my mind to think of a state that big because we can drive border to border in like
An hour.
at least an hour.
And I was thinking 400 miles, we'd be in Canada.
Yeah.
We'd be out of the country.
Yeah, we'd be pretty far. Her mode of transportation was her thumb in the wind. On September 29th, 1978, Mary was standing with two other men waiting to be picked up around Berkeley, California by friendly passerbys.
Okay, that's really creepy though, because that's exactly Ed Kemper was at Berkeley.
Oh, no.
So
I don't think that any of her ride choices were good if that was the other option.
yeah, right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I paused because I was trying to think of what exact years Ed Kemper was there.
Oh.
I'm sure our gremlins know, and I should know having spent 3 episodes on it. But
we have colander brain.
and once I tell the episode, it is out of my brain. Goodbye.
Yeah, there's only so much room in our heads for 12 pages of notes per
Until we write our book.
every bi-week.
Kidding. I'm kidding. Just in case that's not abundantly clear.
TBD. As the light of day began to fade, the group was in luck as a blue utility van pulled up. You know, like the free candy van that has no seats in the back and is used to commit crimes. Yeah, that van.
But she's with 2 other people, you said,
She
right?
is,
Just
yep.
that
She's
happened to
with-
be there?
Yep, with 2 guys who are also hitchhiking. A heavy-set older man wearing blue coveralls smiled from the driver's side window and asked Mary if she needed a ride. The 2 men Mary had been standing with pulled her aside and told her that she should not get in.
No way.
The signs were all there with that van, and this is what horror movies are made of.
Yeah.
The coveralls, that's like very Mike Myers or Chainsaw
Exactly what I was
Massacre.
thinking. Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
But Mary was tired. She wanted to get to her grandfather's house, so she ignored the warning from the men. Larry looked older, like a grandfather, so she felt that he looked safe.
You know who else looked older? The toy box killer.
He did, didn't he? But Mary will find out that Larry was far from the nurturing grandfather type. Lawrence Singleton was 51 years old at the time and owned homes in San Francisco and Sparks, Nevada. He was originally from Florida, born in Tampa on July 28th, 1927. He served in the military and had been stationed in a combat zone in Korea. Once discharged, he was a merchant mariner by trade and spent many hours out on the open ocean. Wow. He was a heavy drinker and a mean drunk who was physically and verbally abusive to his family. By the time he met Mary on that fateful day, he had 2 failed marriages, the last one lasting only 2 years, and his own defiant teenager at home with whom he had just recently fought. So nothing good going on for Larry.
No. Little PTSD, little anger issues, drinking issues.
Drinking. Yep. Mary told Larry, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it, that she was heading to Corona, California. Larry said he was originally headed to Reno, Nevada, but he was more than happy to take the detour to the LA area for her.
Bet he was.
Mary scoped out the back of the van and noted that there was plenty of space. She asked Larry if her traveling companions could come with them, but he was adamant that he only had room for her in the van.
Stop, Mary.
So she hopped into the passenger seat and they were off.
And it was so common to hitchhike. Like today, we're like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
No, thank you. But it was so common.
It was.
Yikes.
And it's
Yikes.
in a lot of our stories. If
So
that tells
many,
you anything.
so many. Well, and it's like, because especially, I mean, this is why so many of our cases are from the 70s-ish too, because the connectivity that we see really like mid 2000s and beyond is like, it just wasn't there anytime in the previous millennium. I don't know. That's very deep of me, but
yeah.
So you didn't report back to somebody like you and I know. Literally, I was like, "Oh, you didn't get to your chiropractor this morning, so you must have gone this afternoon before your eye appointment." Like, I literally know everything, you know.
Right.
But we know where each other is at, and it just wasn't the case. So it was easy. That combined with it being common for hitchhiking, it was just so easy for people to be assaulted at best.
And you had a lot more people just leaving home to go travel,
That's true.
like during
Yep.
like the hippie era and
Yep.
stuff like that. So you combine those two things, like somebody leaves and they haven't come back for a while. You're like,
Yep.
okay. So by the time they're missing, it's like, it's
Yeah.
too late.
Yeah.
You don't even know. You don't even know where they went missing.
I was just gonna say you have no information. There's
Right.
like there aren't CCTV cameras everywhere. It's just different.
It's different
Not
times.
a surprise, but yeah.
Different times. So once in the van, Mary lit a cigarette, and I was like, the
Yep.
70s.
Yep.
The smoke made her sneeze, and Larry creepily put his hand on the back of her neck and said, "Let's see if you're sick," and began pulling Mary towards him.
Ugh.
Mary jerked away and cornered herself closer to the passenger side door. I would have already been like, you know what? I'm just going to walk the 400 miles.
Yeah,
I'll
but
take my chances.
Man, I wonder how creepy though, and like how afraid of him she was at that point, because it was like we talked about with Allison. What if he doesn't let you out of the car and like
Right.
will he come after you? So
I don't think
yeah.
she was afraid of him
Yeah.
at this point. She was
She's,
just
like,
like, he's
creeped
a
out.
creep.
Okay.
Yeah. And in addition to his creepy behavior, right off the bat, he was chugging liquor from a gallon milk jug,
Oh,
which, I mean, that's where I store my liquor,
Well,
is in
yeah.
my empty milk gallons.
yeah.
Jugs? Milk jugs?
In your
milk
jugs. That's where you store it. Okay.
So anyways, but I guess a ride is a ride when you're hitchhiking, you
Yeah.
know, whether your driver's sober or not, it's okay.
Yikes.
They drove an hour in the correct direction, and Mary, unfortunately, was far too trusting and naive of this situation. She drifted off to sleep.
What?
This is why I would be a terrible hitchhiker, because anything more than 45 minutes in the car and I fall asleep. I'm like narcoleptic in the car. It's insane.
So you're Mary in this situation.
I am. And when I used to go on long road
Yeah.
trips, like before kids, I would fall asleep and then I would feel bad. So I would wake up, and to stay awake, I would read street signs, and my husband would be like, "Go back to sleep. That's so annoying." I'm like, "I'm sorry."
You would read street signs. I don't know why that's so like out loud.
Yes, but they'd be crazy, because we'd be driving in Pennsylvania. I'd be like, "Hell's Hole Alley." Like, what?
That is like, so my husband is from this area and I'm from like the Boston area. We've talked about this with my inability to
With your
to say
rural
words.
urbans.
But when we drive up there, he really likes to say all of the city names in a Boston accent. So we'll be driving up, he'll be like, Worcester, Leominster. I don't know,
But
he's a
it's-
heavy smoker too.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
kidding, he's not.
But it's similar to that. I just,
Yes.
the names were funny, so I'd read them out loud, and my husband would be like, "Go back to sleep, or I'm
Maybe-
going to kick you out of this vehicle."
Maybe you should have tried the Boston accent.
Maybe that would have made a difference. That's why I can't stay awake in the car. He's like putting Benadryl in my water. He's like, "That's so weird that you fall asleep. Now leave me alone."
He's like, and 45 minutes, perfect. You're like, it's so weird. I have a giant glass of water and I go right to sleep.
Every time, man.
He puts this cloth right over my face. Okay, anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Anyway.
Anyways, I have kids now, so I don't get to go on fun road trips anymore.
The
So
Benadryl is being used on someone other than you.
that's right. Children's Benadryl. So Mary fell asleep. After a few hours of sleep, she woke up and she saw that it was now dark outside. The passing road signs told her that she was headed east towards Nevada, not south to LA.
Was she reading them out loud?
Probably. And Larry was like, "Shut the fuck up."
I wonder, so without knowing anything about Larry, I wonder if Mary hadn't fallen asleep, would he still have taken her in the wrong direction, or did he take advantage and was like, "Ooh, she's asleep, she's not going to notice"? But if he's a terrible person and like a repeat offender, then maybe that's not the case. But if it's don't tell me. But if it's just this one, then I wonder.
I'm just going to say that based on how bad it is.
That's what I was afraid of.
I feel like he would have found a way around it.
Okay.
That's my initial
Yeah.
thought. This was the moment that finally alerted Mary to the danger of her situation. She felt around the van for anything that she could use as a weapon, and she found a long pointed stick next to her seat. She grabbed it firmly and held it towards Larry. She said, "I can take care of myself. Turn around right now."
Badass.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was probably like a sharpened pencil.
Yeah.
She's like, "Get out, turn around."
I would not say that because I cannot take care of myself.
No, I can't either. Larry pretended like it was just a mistake. He told her, "I'm just an honest man who made an honest mistake. I'm not going to hurt you." And then he turned the car around.
Interesting.
But Mary kept her guard up. Soon thereafter, Larry told Mary that he needed to make a pit stop to use the bathroom. He pulled off the road in an isolated area and got out of the car. Mary knew that this was her chance. She knew that as a healthy 15-year-old, she could outrun the overweight alcoholic relieving himself nearby, but one of her shoes was untied. She needed to rectify that situation before she ran off and tripped, so she quietly opened her door and got out. She bent down to tie her shoe, and that's when everything went black.
Girlfriend.
Larry.
Okay. Sorry. I first of all forgot she was 15, so I'm glad you said that again. Second, you can't tie your shoe in the car.
Yeah, maybe she should have done
I mean,
that.
I at this point, I don't think it would have mattered because also, like, yeah, maybe you could outrun him, but where are you going to go? You're in the middle of nowhere. You're going to go on the road. He's going to find, so as much as it sounds like she could have escaped, I don't know that would have been the case.
I think she could have escaped.
Yeah?
I think so. If she drove, like, into the woods, if it was, like, isolated, if she could run into the woods, she might have just been, like, stuck in the woods and had to wait for daylight. But I don't know.
I guess I'm imagining this is, like, in the middle, like, where there's literally nothing for hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
Like, is there no traffic? That's what I was imagining is, like, how do you get yourself out of that situation?
Yeah.
But
and I think even if she tied her shoe in the car, he probably was lurking around anyways.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
So
You're right.
she wouldn't have even gotten out of the car. He probably just would have opened the door and hit her. But that's my thought anyways. Larry had snuck up behind Mary and smashed the back of her head with a sledgehammer.
Whoa.
That's really aggressive.
So aggressive.
Larry undressed Mary, tied her hands behind her back, and put her on the floor of the van. He then proceeded to sexually assault her throughout the course of the evening. When he was finished, he left her on the floor of the van and hopped back into the driver's seat. He drove them a few miles to a canyon road that was near Modesto, California, and pulled the van over again. He went to the back of the van and cut Mary's hands loose. He told her at this point that he would set her free if she did everything he asked. He shoved a cup full of something at her, most likely liquor, and said, "Drink it or I'll kill you." Mary did as she was told, but repeatedly begged Larry to let her go. Larry then proceeded to rape her again, and Mary passed out. When she came to again, Larry dragged her to the edge of the road where she remained on her back. The sun was coming up at this point. Larry returned to the van, and Mary could hear him rummaging around. He came back, grabbed her by the left hand, and said, "You want to be free? I'll set you free." He then took a hatchet and began chopping at her forearm about 6 inches below her elbow.
Oh, my God.
It took just 3 swings before her hand was fully severed from her body.
Oh, my God.
Mary realized what was happening and fought like hell when he reached for her right hand. She was grabbing onto his arm as hard as she could to try to stop the onslaught, but after being attacked all night, she was no match for him.
Oh my God.
Her right arm was chopped off about 4 inches below her elbow. When finished, Larry stepped away from her, and Mary was lying still on the ground, bleeding and fading in and out of consciousness. Mary could see Larry swinging his own arm back and forth. She couldn't figure out what he was doing until she realized that her right hand, which was no longer attached to her body, was in a death grip around his forearm.
What?
She had been holding onto his arm so tightly that when he chopped her hand off, her hand stayed in the death grip on his forearm.
Am I in a nightmare right now?
Yes.
This is I was going to say the craziest story I've ever heard, but it's not actually after your last episode.
I know.
But holy shit. Mm-hmm. This is literally out of a horror movie.
I know.
Holy shit.
I know.
I've upgraded. I was, oh my God, all
And
through
now
Alice in Both. Yeah, and now it's holy shit.
Holy shit.
Okay.
So Larry did this because he felt that if she didn't have fingerprints, she couldn't be identified. Which is fucking idiot. Idiot. Larry assumed at this point that Mary was dead, and I'm sure her overall aesthetic fit the bill for that.
Yeah.
Larry returned to Mary and dragged her naked, ravaged body to the edge of a cliff.
Oh my God.
He then lifted her up and tossed her over the edge where she fell 30 feet below. He looked down and felt that her body was not hidden well enough, so he climbed down and proceeded to shove Mary's mangled body into a concrete drainage culvert.
Oh my God.
Satisfied with his work, Larry climbed back up the hill, got in his van, and drove away.
What for? This is understatement and Captain Obvious statements here. What a piece of shit, but extra piece of shit for just like tossing her body.
I know.
That kind of thing. I mean, obviously the entire proceedings are horrible, but there's something about just like tossing, and it was even Ed Kemper too, like toss the bodies
the
in
body,
a bag.
yes.
I just hate that. It's like extra disrespect.
It is.
I just hate him.
But this is why I think this had to be premeditated in some
That is not a crime of
fashion.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you.
I
Yes,
think
yeah.
that he would have found a way to make it work.
1,000%. Yep.
Yeah. Miraculously, Mary wasn't dead, and she was conscious.
Oh God.
Despite losing half of the blood in her body and suffering a concussion from the blow to her head, Mary was aware of her circumstances.
Holy shit.
She was screaming at God, begging him to let her go to sleep so she could deal with the whole situation in the morning.
Oh.
But deep down, she knew that if she went to sleep, she would bleed to death and die. Oh, that's the same thing. Department of Redundancy Department. She would bleed to death. Mary thought...
So it's not funny.
No,
I just
I know.
extra processed what you said, and then I
Yes.
laughed nervously. So I just want to
like-
make that very clear that
That's like 7 p.m. at night.
yeah,
She would bleed to death and die. Yes.
at 7 p.m. at night. Yeah.
Yes. Mary thought, I can't go to sleep. He's going to do this to somebody else. I can't let it happen.
Why is it? We talk about this all the time. The most stand up, just good people that these things happen to, because I would also want to live, but I'm not sure that that would be the first thing on my mind. I'd be
Right.
like, I just want to live. And she's out there thinking about other people.
And that's exactly what Allison Boda did too
That's
with
what I'm
her
saying,
mom.
her mom, exactly.
She didn't want to disappoint her.
God.
So, and here's Mary fighting for her life in
Wow.
order to save others, not herself. It's unbelievable. Mary crawled out of the culvert and was ready to fight for her life. The pressing issue was her arms. She was bleeding profusely from the stumps where her hands used to be. Mary lived in the Philippines for a short time when she was younger, and she learned that if you don't have anything to cauterize a bleeding wound, you can put the wound in the dirt to congeal the blood and stop the flow. So that's what she did.
I cannot imagine the pain. I mean, aside from the existing pain.
Oh, I know.
But like the additional pain, because I have to assume there's all sorts of nerve endings at the end of that. Like, good God, unfathomable.
I just wonder, though, it is 100% unfathomable. I'm just wondering, like, Allison's description of it was like she could feel nothing.
That's true. Does your body go into shock?
Yeah, your
I
body
don't know.
is like, we can't survive this if I let you feel this. So
Yeah.
you're just going to pretend it doesn't happen.
God, I don't.
I'm not saying she didn't feel pain.
No,
I'm just
no, I
saying,
know.
like, I don't know the level, but I cannot imagine
Either
shoving
way,
my bloody
like,
stump into
no.
dirt to congeal the blood.
Exactly. Even if you aren't quote unquote feeling anything, you're the reason for that is because you're in just overload shock.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think I'd come out of one of these situations.
No, you
just-
would find yourself in one, but
Yeah.
not come out of it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, not at all.
Wow. My story ends here. And
Yeah.
then she laid down and went to sleep.
And went to sleep, yeah.
And they found her.
Yeah.
So she stuck her stumps in the dirt, congealed the blood, and with 3 broken ribs, head trauma, and severed arms, she climbed up the 30-foot cliff back to the road. She didn't feel cold. She didn't feel pain. She just had the singular focus on getting help to stop Larry from heading to another victim.
My God.
Mary heard God speaking to her, telling her that if she just kept walking, he would get her to safety.
Because that's my other thing is they're on this isolated road. It must be super early in the morning. And you just have to hope that someone comes by and that it's not Larry. Like,
I know.
I mean, she doesn't know that he left.
I know.
Like, oh my God.
Yep. So it was dark again by this point. It had taken her all day.
Oh, sure. I guess that makes sense.
It
Yeah.
had been morning, sorry. And
Yeah.
then she climbed her way
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
so it was dark again.
Yep.
And Mary just wandered in the dark desert. She held her stumps up towards the sky to stop the flow of blood and to keep her muscles and tendons from falling out.
Oh my God.
She looked for lights and listened for cars, and she finally made it to a point close enough to civilization that she stood a chance. A car was coming up the road, headlights shining on her naked, bloody,
Oh my God, I forgot she's
battered
naked.
body.
I know that it's not, at this point doesn't matter, but
No.
it's it's additional, just one more thing. Oh my God.
They took one look at her and sped away.
Oh, that happened in the Toy Box Killer too, and probably other episodes we've talked about.
And Allison Boda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But another car came. A husband and wife who were on their honeymoon who had made a wrong turn and missed the freeway entrance.
Tell me that's not God.
I
Right.
know. The driver said, from a distance of about 150 yards, I thought she lived there. I thought she was wearing a bikini. Then I saw she wasn't wearing any clothes, and then the shock of seeing she had no hands, I didn't know what to do.
Full body goosebumps right now. Wow.
The couple stopped and put Mary in the car to get to a phone to call an ambulance. When it was all said and done, Mary had walked about 3 miles
Are you kidding me?
from where she was left for dead in the culvert. 3 miles.
After having climbed up a 30-foot cliff.
With a concussion.
And I think a concussion is like, I know that's technically what it is, but that's like that's a kind of underselling it.
This is
Hit
more
in
like
the
a
head-
TBI.
Literally,
Yeah.
like you're hit in the head with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Yes, it's technically a concussion, but it's a lot worse
Yeah.
than that, combined with all the other injuries.
Broken ribs and
combined with also having just been sexually assaulted all day. Like
all night,
all
yes.
of these things. Oh
and
my God.
having only half the blood that you need in your body.
God. Wow.
Sometimes I can't even walk on my treadmill for 20 minutes.
I know.
Just,
I know.
I just cannot. The driver said she wasn't crying. She was just moaning. I asked her what happened, and she answered right away, he raped me. She wasn't bleeding. She was in shock. I don't think she really understood that she didn't have any hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, there's a lot left to talk about. But that of all things, I mean, I guess like any limbs, but that itself, aside from the pain, aside from the blood loss, like your hands are your everything.
I know.
So, my God. Okay.
Both hands.
Yeah.
Crazy. Mary was taken to Scenic Hospital where a police officer was waiting. Mary grabbed the officer as they were walking in and told him to get a paper and pen. She told him absolutely everything that she knew. They also brought in a police sketch artist, and Mary described Larry to a T. She said, I wanted to make damn certain they knew who he was when they saw his face. I described him like you would describe someone to a blind person.
Oh my God, that just gave me more goosebumps. Oh, so intense.
The police released the sketch, and Mary and her story became the talk of the town. When Larry found out that Mary was still alive, he attempted to commit suicide by overdosing on sleeping pills.
Fucking coward.
Yep.
We've already established he's a piece of shit, but I feel the need to say it again.
He failed.
Good.
And less than 10 days later, Larry had been identified. His former neighbor saw the photo that they had released and was like, wait a minute. She felt that the photo looked like Larry. And then she heard that Mary reported the attacker's name was Larry. So she called the police to see what color the van was. And it was blue like Larry's.
Yep.
She said she felt really bad because she wasn't sure if she was reporting someone innocent and she didn't want to like get him in trouble. But she knew she needed to tell them everything because it was too many coincidences.
And that's what that's for. And it doesn't mean
Right.
just reporting. That does not mean that person's going to jail.
Right.
They're just knowing to investigate, and they'll either find that they're innocent or, in this case, that they're not.
Yeah, very guilty. With the information they needed, police swooped in and Larry was arrested at his home in Nevada. After his arrest, Larry's home was searched. There was a rug in the backyard that had recently been washed and was hanging up. They think it had been in the van. Authorities found 2 bras, 3 pairs of women's panties, and a man's blue jumpsuit.
Ooh.
Larry was questioned by the police for an entire day before finally admitting that he picked up a woman fitting the description of Mary Vincent. And Finney would like to tell you that as well.
Really.
And had sexual intercourse with her while he was drunk and foggy.
I agree, Fanny. It is unacceptable. I wonder if you all can hear this. He comes sprinting down the hallway, yelling the whole way.
I think people can hear it.
Yes.
The other cat's getting in on it too. In a more detailed version of events, Larry said he picked up a woman in Richmond on September 29th and brought her to his home. He said they loaded furniture into his van and then headed south. Along the way, they picked up 2 male hitchhikers, and then him and one of the hitchhikers paid the woman $60 for sexual favors in the back of the van. He said he blacked out at some point from alcohol, and when he woke up, the woman was gone, and one of the hitchhikers was driving his van back to the Bay Area.
Oh, how convenient.
Larry admitted that he had a roofer's axe and a toolbox in his van, but denied ever using it that night. And I think this is super believable when compared to Mary's version.
Oh,
Like there was just this other random Larry that picked up Mary.
Yeah, in a blue van.
And chopped her hands off.
Yeah.
Yeah, very believable. Recovering in the hospital, Mary continued to be a badass bitch.
Sounds like it.
She never even mentioned her hands in the hospital. One of the patient advocates said that she only heard her mention them once. She was crying and went to automatically wipe her tears with her hand and said, "Oh, my hands, they're gone."
Oh, my God.
Her mother and grandfather kept vigil with Mary, and her father and siblings came to see her when they could. Mary kept her spirits sky high and told others that even with her current condition, she planned to get back into ballet, sewing, cooking, macrame, and pottery.
I have lots of questions on how to do that. I'm kidding, because I know there are people that do that just fine. But
Crazy.
sewing seems like a hard one.
That would be hard.
Yeah.
During her hospital stay, Mary was fitted with prosthetic hooks for hands, and she didn't complain at that point either. She was receiving 24-hour medical care, psychological counseling, and occupational therapy for the use of her new limbs. After hearing the details of Mary's attack, the community rallied behind her. She received letters, cards, phone calls, local stores offered clothes and gifts, and a trust fund was set up for her and her family.
Good. Yeah, because this was, I'm going to kill your cats. I'm just letting you know. They're having a very long conversation. It's so loud.
It really is.
What was I going to say? Oh, because this is the 70s, I don't think prosthetic limbs were, I know that they were not nearly as advanced as now. So like literally they probably were actual literal hooks.
Yes.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. That's all I had to say about that. But it was lengthier because of the cats.
I was like, that's very deep.
Sorry.
It's very deep. So let's talk about Larry's trial. In October 1978, the grand jury returned an indictment charging Larry with forcible rape, forcible oral copulation, kidnapping, sodomy, attempted murder, and mayhem. Because of the publicity, the court granted a change of venue motion to move the trial to San Diego County. Larry pled not guilty, and his trial began only 6 months after Mary's attack.
Good. Also, not guilty. Are you kidding? I mean, I realize I would do the same, but...
He wasn't there.
Yeah, that's true. He was passed out.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. What had happened?
What had happened was... Mary testified against him, pointing her prosthetic arm in his direction when asked to identify her attacker.
Oh, how powerful.
And she won't give him a name. She has never said his name. She will only refer to him as her attacker.
Interesting. I like that.
But
Because you know what? She's stripping his identity as a person just like he did for her. Good for her. Oh, I like her.
But this fucker.
Oh, no.
After Mary testified, when she was walking out of the courtroom and walking by him, he whispered to her, "If it's the last thing I do, I will finish the job."
How can that not be like considered in the proceedings?
I know.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's essentially, to me, that is an admission of guilt.
Right.
Send him to jail.
Right. But the only person that's going to say that they heard it is Mary, right?
Where's his lawyer? Where's the bailiff?
know.
Where's anyone sitting in the, what's that called? The audience?
Courtroom?
No, like what's the right, but gallery, right? That's what it is.
Sure.
Isn't there a name for like where everybody, like the people not involved, but just are there?
I guess gallery. I don't know. I've never
That's
referenced
definitely
it.
a thing. Yeah, I think so.
I know you have
Who's the lawyer here?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't name out pieces of. I'm like, look, I'm standing in the gallery, Your Honor.
That's what I would do. I actually just watched, because we always talk about, I object. Why? On what grounds? Because it's devastating to my case.
I say that all the time.
I just watched Liar Liar this week, and it's just as good as I remembered. It's
so
such a
good.
classic. It is 90s, right? That must have been when it was.
Or very early 2000s.
Right, but it's that classic, like
I know.
everything. Anyway.
Classic Jim Carrey.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and everything that guy said is bullshit, Your Honor. My cousin Vinny.
Yes.
So after Larry said this to Mary, she was horrified. She ran out of the courtroom crying.
Ugh.
Unsurprisingly, Larry was convicted.
Good. Okay.
So fuck him.
I always get nervous, though. You never know. Because
I
obviously
know.
we didn't get into every single detail about the trial. So you
Right.
never know. Something could have been a wrench in it. But good.
After his conviction, he filed a motion seeking a referral to be considered a mentally disordered sexual offender. If they found that he was mentally disordered in that he was predisposed to commit this type of crime due to mental disease or defect, I believe that he could have been referred to the state hospital for treatment instead of prison.
Yep.
That motion was denied, and he was sentenced to 14.3 years in prison.
That's it?
It was the maximum allowed under California law at the time.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
The judge said at sentencing, if I had the power, I would send him to prison for the rest of his natural life.
That is so frustrating because obviously laws are in place for a reason and all that, but they don't account for this situation.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Larry appealed, and his appeal was denied.
Oh, good. Fuck him.
Mary also sued Larry civilly for his actions against her. She won a $2.56 million civil judgment against him, but he was essentially judgment proof.
Was that, this is not important, but was that 2 point something in 1970s dollars? It probably
must
was,
have
right?
been,
Oh my
yeah.
God, that's a lot.
A lot.
Which it fucking
What are your hands
should be.
worth?
Yeah,
What are your
literally, it
hands
should
worth?
be. Yep.
He had $200 in his bank account,
Yeah.
was unemployed, and in poor health. So basically, she couldn't
Yeah.
recover a dime.
So I just need a tiny little bit of Marina's legal corner. That is what happens, right? Like you can sue someone and be awarded that, but like if they have nothing to their name, you just don't get any of it. Right? Is that right?
Correct.
It's so fucked up. I mean, I get it. Where are you going to fabricate the money from? But
And that's why a lot of times when you see lawsuits, you don't normally see them just against a person unless that person has a lot of money. They will try to rope in home insurance policies, business policies, auto policies, like any sort of insurance money that they can rope in,
course, yeah.
or businesses that the people are linked to.
or like the sheriff's department, they sue, right?
Right,
A lot of times,
right. If they handled it
depending.
incorrectly,
Yeah.
because you need deep pot, like you can get
didn't even
the
think of
biggest
that.
judgment ever, but if the person doesn't have a pot
Yeah.
to piss in, you're just
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Thank you for
Yeah.
little corner there.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
In 1987, you're gonna be really mad. In 1987, after serving only 8 years, Larry was released on parole for good behavior.
Of course he was.
8 years for what he did to her.
Unbelievable. And it's so it's so fucked up, but it's so fucked up because of her will to live. He got less time.
Then if
But
he
had she
murdered her.
died,
Right.
he would have been in jail. It's just so fucked up.
Yep.
Ugh.
Well, after his sentence, there was such outrage that California passed new law that crimes involving torture now get 25 to life. And it
Good.
passed in 1987, the year that Larry was let out.
Well, that's frustrating, but would it have actually applied retroactively? Who knows?
It couldn't have.
Right. So it
No.
doesn't, yeah, that's still fucked up.
So now, understandably, no one wanted Larry living anywhere near them, and no towns in the Bay Area would let him move in.
Can you do that?
Well, he was on parole, so there were these large protests with hundreds of people to keep him out of specific neighborhoods.
Damn.
Because he was going to be living, I think, in like parole housing. So they
got
like
it. Okay.
have it in the
Okay.
neighborhoods. So they had to get creative basically to protect him from this riotous
Yeah.
community. And they ended up putting him in a trailer on the property of San Quentin Prison until his parole ended
That's
a year later.
Kind of funny.
It's
Yeah.
where he belongs.
Exactly.
Once released from parole supervision, Larry returned to Tampa, where he was originally from. Did I just put an R in Tampa? I'm like, Tampa.
Yeah, it's the Boston coming out.
Tampa.
Spatula.
In the spring of 1990, Larry was convicted of theft and sentenced to 60 days in prison, of which he served 45 days for stealing a $10 disposable camera.
Oh, what's he doing? He does not need a disposable camera. No.
And in the winter of 1990, he stole a $3 hat and received a 2-year prison sentence.
What an idiot.
I know. And then things were quiet until 1997.
Oh my God, we're not okay.
The end. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
On February 1st, 1997, Larry's neighbors could see that something was wrong with Larry's car. When they went over to check it out, they found Larry sucking in the vehicle's exhaust through a dryer hose. The neighbors pulled him to safety and called 911. His single-page suicide note that said, "I hope I find peace. Please have me cremated and have my ashes thrown into Palm River on the outgoing tide." Larry was referred for psychiatric treatment at St. Joseph's Psychiatric Care Center, and despite his family's concerns that he needed ongoing treatment, Larry was released from the facility on February 10th.
Oh, geez, that is not long at all.
No, less than 2 weeks later, on February 19th, 1997, a house painter arrived at Larry's home to do some work. He knocked on the door and called Larry's name but got no response. He walked in and could hear a muffled gurgling sound.
Oh no.
The painter was walking through the house when he heard another cry for help. When he entered Larry's family room, he saw Larry hovered over a woman's body on the couch.
Sorry. I thought he tried to kill himself again, and that's what it was going to be. I was not expecting. No. Oh my God.
You are aghast.
I am.
You are aghast. The painter went outside to tell his uncle, who was also there for the job, what he had seen. The painter ran to the front of the house and kicked in the door, which I think is kind of funny because I think he was already in the house.
That is funny, but he was like, "Fuck you."
He's like, "I want to kick in this door."
Yeah.
He heard another weak cry for help.
Oh my God.
Upon re-entering the living room, he saw Larry had his hand around the woman's neck. The painter saw Larry make 3 downward motions on her chest and neck, and he heard the sounds of bones crunching.
No.
The police were called, and Larry was arrested for the murder of poor Roxanne Hayes, who was a mother of 3.
Oh, that makes me want to cry. So fucking close.
I know.
So close.
I know. And can you imagine the neighbors who saved him from the car?
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought that was where this was going, because I thought I thought he tried again or something. So I thought it was he like had a failed attempt or something.
And like, I wonder if it was one of those situations. Wasn't it Ed Kemper who's like, "I'm glad you caught me because I was going to do it again."
Yes.
I wonder if he was like, "I'm trying to kill myself so I don't do it again."
And he did. I was picking up because his suicide note said, "I hope I find peace." So I wonder if he was battling with something. It obviously doesn't excuse anything, and I wish he had died before that had happened.
Right.
But God, that's so frustrating. Those poor the poor people that were there. Also, why is he so fucking dumb that you have scheduled house maintenance coming, and they're like, "I'm gonna murder someone today."
I know. Well, maybe they weren't. Maybe they weren't clear on the dates they were coming to paint.
It's true. It was a big window. It was like between 8 and 5. Kidding.
It's just the heat of the moment took him away.
No, but that is so upsetting.
I know.
I mean, again, I state the obvious all the time, but it's just it was so close. It was seconds. It had to have been seconds.
I know.
God.
I know. And again, like, there were 2 opportunities to avoid this situation.
Yes.
You had first as a suicide attempt.
Yep.
Then you had the fact that he was hospitalized and should
true.
not have been let out and was.
And this was within the same month, right? Yeah.
That was less than 2 weeks later that he was let out.
Yep.
And then you have the painter was like 5 minutes too late.
That poor painter. Well, poor everybody.
I know. So, Roxanne's autopsy revealed that she had been stabbed 6 times in her torso and once in her face.
Oh.
Yeah. She also had deep defensive wounds on her hands. One wound almost severed her index and middle finger.
Oh my God. Oh, these really kill me. No pun intended, because these people are fighting for their lives.
know.
And I'm like too empathetic about it, because I'm thinking like, my God, you must think like I have a chance here. I don't know. It just, it really upsets me.
It actually makes my skin hurt to think about grabbing at the blade of a knife to try to save
someone
yourself.
And like, I don't know if you've ever had this, like I'm really weak. I just don't have a lot of, especially upper body strength. And have you ever been like, someone's tickling you or whatever, like my husband does that, like, and he knows not to like go too far, but like, if he like holds my hand, if he like holds my hand down, we're like completely joking around, but I like can't pull it.
Oh, I know.
Even for a second, I think to myself, my God, I would, and obviously I'm not fighting for my life in those situations.
Right.
But all I can think is just
how easy it would be.
Yes. Because like, sometimes I'll be like, all right, let me hold my arm. Let me see if I can pull it out. And it is just, I cannot imagine. I mean, certainly you have so much more adrenaline and you're probably stronger I'm sure you're stronger if you're fighting for your life. But it just, that feeling of like, I literally am straining so hard and I cannot do anything. That just makes me sick to think that that's how she spent her final minutes. Ugh.
And it's weird that I've had the same situation where I think, oh, I'm getting stronger. I could probably hold my own. And then, my husband he'll grab both of my hands and he's able to hold both of my wrists with one hand behind my back and like tickle my hip. And I can't escape the situation.
No, and it's like, obviously,
but I'm also not kneeing him in the balls or like anything.
No,
really
I know.
Exactly.
And that's why I say, like, obviously it's all in good fun and we're not fighting for our lives, but it's just, for a split second, I can imagine that.
I know.
And that it is horrible.
It is horrible.
It's like a deep form of claustrophobia almost. Anyway.
Yeah, it makes my skin crawl for sure.
Oh, God.
Larry was tried for Roxanne's murder and he testified on his own behalf. Larry, who was now 69 years old, said after taking antihistamines, prescription medication, and alcohol, which is quite the mix, he was out and picked up Roxanne, who was a sex worker. They went back to Larry's home in Tampa, and after they ate and had sex, Larry got his wallet so that he could give Roxanne cab fare. He said that Roxanne tried to take his wallet, but he was able to get it back from her. Larry said Roxanne then picked up a knife from near the couch and swung it at him. Roxanne only sustained her injuries during the altercation in which Larry tried to disarm her of the knife.
Right.
And he didn't even know she was injured until she was lying on the couch.
Oh, he is so... he obviously thinks people will believe it, but he must just... It's like he has like a God complex. Anyone that's in these situations who thinks that they can just... It's okay for them to take a human life, that they're like, I'm better. I'm going to lie and you're just going to believe me.
Yeah. The criminals aren't the smartest.
No.
He was convicted of first-degree murder.
Good. Fuck him. Yeah.
The state was pursuing the death penalty in this situation. Mary Vincent attended the penalty phase of the trial to testify concerning Larry's prior violent crimes. She was sworn in and asked to identify Larry, once again pointing her prosthetic arm in his direction.
And swearing in, probably, with her prosthetic arm.
Yes, holding her hand up. The vote for death was 10-2, and the court agreed, sentencing him to death.
Those two must have... Don't they clear people who are just won't ever... Like, they ask you if you would...
Yes, they ask you...
do the death penalty?
Yes. And in Connecticut, it has to be unanimous, too.
Right.
So
I also thought that. And then... But also, who are these two people? The reason I asked that is, like, who are these two people that are like... no, he doesn't need to die for that.
It just might have been the mitigating circumstances if he was talking about his mentally disordered thinking and the combat in Korea, that he was a military veteran and like all this other stuff.
I don't know how you hear Mary's story. I hate to say story, but like her experience,
and then Roxanne
combined with Roxanne being killed, and you're like, yeah, he can just rot in jail. I mean, better than nothing. But
I know.
Anyway. I guess that gets on a whole other thing we don't have time for in this podcast. Yeah.
So Larry appealed his death sentence and he lost. But I looked at the appellate cases briefly. One of his grounds for appeal, I just cannot. He said it was unduly prejudicial that Mary was put on the stand and asked to raise her hand when she was sworn in and then to point him out in the courtroom. He said that it unduly prejudiced the jury against him because she didn't have hands.
Are you? Buddy,
I'm like,
you
because
did that.
you fucking cut them off.
Oh my God. How can you? And you know what is even more fucked up is that there was a lawyer that had to write that on his behalf, because there's obviously no way he did that. Right, like
he could have, but I'm sure he probably had a public defender.
Yeah, it's just my God.
Well, I mean, you gotta go with what you got. You gotta, and especially a death case, you have to appeal everything.
True.
But yeah, they were like, it was very prejudicial that she took her prosthetic arm. That was the result of him chopping. And even
they're
if
like, she's still breathing, and that's really prejudicial.
It is.
I can't say that word.
And even if he maintained his innocence, it doesn't matter because he was convicted of chopping her arms off. Right. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, no execution date was ever scheduled because on December 28th, 2001, Larry died in prison from cancer at the age of 74.
And that is perfectly fitting. Good.
Karma.
Yep.
May he rest in distress.
Yeah.
So, now let's finish this out the way we started by talking about Mary.
Yes, please.
After the attack, Mary graduated high school because remember she was
I forgot.
friggin' 15 years old. And then she went to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. She struggled with being, quote, that girl. And she said she ended up having, this made me like sad for her. She ended up having a different set of friends because her other friends either hated her or were uncomfortable around her.
Oh, poor thing.
Which I don't know how anybody could hate you
No,
after you've been through
it
that.
has to be just completely having no idea how to interact with someone after, which is not an excuse.
And that's just like secondary trauma for her.
That's what I was going to say. So
to
you
lose limbs, friends, like awful. She was looking for a sense of meaning in life, and for a while she went around giving talks on the dangers of hitchhiking. And then she became an advocate for crime victims' rights between the 1980s and 1990s, speaking at engagements across the country. During that same time frame, she was blessed with 2 sons. She says they're her life. She's had trouble maintaining trusting relationships since her attack, but she keeps a sense of humor about everything. Wow. She's been married 3 times now, and when she met her now 3rd husband, she said, "You look like my 3rd husband." And he was like, "How many times have you been married?" And she said, "Twice."
That's good.
And when she's running errands, so she's fiercely independent.
I'm sure.
When she's running errands and someone asks if they can offer her a hand, she says, "I'll take 2 if you got 'em."
Oh my God, I love that. I mean, I love it because it has to be, you're literally reminded every single minute of every single day. And it's just, I'm sure there are many, many dark hours, but I'm so glad that she can make some light of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
During the time that Larry was out after his parole, Mary was a nervous wreck because of his threat in the courtroom. Yeah. She was afraid to stay in one place too long, and she went through a series of bodyguards. She even ended up living in a deserted gas station at one point.
Oh my God. And also, like, it's like completely reasonable that she would want a bodyguard, but how do you even afford something like that? It's like all of this, like you said, it's secondary trauma, and it's also like this secondary, or I guess primary burden.
I know.
Like, besides living without hands.
Right.
You have, how do you
that
even get
fear, that like
God.
hot burning fear that you would just wake up with every morning. Ooh.
Yeah.
When she found out that he was arrested again, she felt a sense of freedom from her current fears, but the prior trauma was still there. Mary said that she's afraid to go to sleep still, and she cannot sleep for long. She has nightmares so bad that she has broken ribs, smashed her nose, and dislocated her shoulder from trying to get out of bed that quickly.
Oh, God.
She said, "Every day I pray to God to make a space I can breathe in, and every day God gives it to me."
Man.
Mary's biggest outlet after the attack was art. She crafted and tinkered to create her own prosthetic hands that she used to create her art using spare parts from broken refrigerators and old stereos.
Holy shit.
To get the fingers just right and to hold whatever brush or instrument she needed to use.
That's so cool and so impressive. My God, that's not easy.
And she was never artistic prior to the trauma.
Really?
She figured out that she had this talent now because she was trying to avoid sleep one night after she was released from the hospital, and she was staring at herself in the mirror and just began to draw herself. And that's how she figured out that she had this like new talent.
That's so cool.
Isn't that crazy too? Because I've heard of things like that happening, maybe not to this extent, but so I think she would have gone back to dance, but I think they said that they had to use pieces from her leg to like help fix her arms. So she couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So then she picked up this other talent.
Wow.
Mary said that her prosthetics gave her an edge because she didn't have shaky hands when she was painting brushstrokes.
I guess that's fair, but so cool.
I know.
I wonder if it actually was to her advantage. Like maybe it worked because she didn't draw or anything before, because imagine trying to relearn drawing, whereas she learned it with her prosthetics.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. She created over 4,000 pieces of art and donated all but 7 of them.
Stop. Why are people so good and bad things happen?
I know. God. And didn't put it in my notes, but it's in my head.
Naturally.
And I think it was like she would donate them and they would sell them. And she was like, I understand that some people are buying these just because they want something that they know is part of this like dark story, whatever. She was like, but it doesn't matter because I'm creating my art and that's all that matters. Man. Now, she hasn't drawn or read a book now in almost 15 years since she met her now husband, the third husband. She said he makes her happy and she's living life with him rather than drawing or reading about it.
That is powerful.
And she said that when she tries to draw now, it looks like a cow took a turd on her paper.
That is so fascinating. It is like her body just said, we have to channel this. Right. And then she found peace. Like she was with her finding husband. It in art. Wow.
Isn't that insane?
I have such goosebumps. Wow.
It's so incredible to me. She's a homebody and she loves it. She said she isn't a sad hermit though. She said, I'm just happy with life. I try to help others see through my eyes. You shouldn't give up hope. It's still a good life. There's so much out there. It's beautiful. It's not a matter of looking for it or making it happen. You just should accept happiness when it does come to you.
Wow. That is so, it's so powerful because it can, I mean, of all things, she must have had so much darkness and thought there's nothing, there's no point. I literally cannot imagine. But to know that she's found peace and happiness, I hope gives people hope if they're not feeling that way.
I know.
That's beautiful.
And that is the incredible survival of Mary Vincent.
Wow. Oh, I hope you title it that way because I think you say it's not too much of a cliffhanger, so I don't think you'll ruin it. I hope you title it that way because that is beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, I had it currently titled as The Attempted Murder of Mary Vincent.
But I like
so
the
I guess
positive.
That's less, yeah.
And again, like you kind of get into it pretty quickly, like you're not, it's not a surprise. So, yeah, wow. I thought it might end up being similar when we started to Allison. I mean, it is in some ways, but what a powerful story.
They're both, they're different. I called it Allison Light because it has that same sort of insane survival, but they're so distinct.
Yeah.
Such
and
distinct
then
stories.
I really didn't expect him to murder someone else or to murder someone, I should say.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, because you mentioned, I forgot to say this, you mentioned that when they searched his house, I think that they found multiple pairs of women's underwear and all that.
Right.
Which makes me think like that for sure this is not the first time.
Right.
Because obviously it was only, I mean, who knows, he probably took hers, but
he probably did.
That was just one pair.
Right.
So
he did, I think he probably also patronized sex workers and
true.
he did have former wives and a daughter. So I didn't hang on the bras and the panties, but I did question whether or not there were other. There's no way that he wasn't violent with other people, with sex workers or coworkers or whatever, because he's just that type. He was abusive with his kid and his family, like, so.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But his daughter is a nurse now.
I was actually, of course, I was just thinking, to learn that about your father is not great. So.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways.
What a case.
Thank you, Flame Sparrow.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
Yeah, as usual.
If you're enjoying listening to Grimm, please rate and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you don't miss any episodes. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, make our day by leaving us a written review. You can find our Facebook page by searching Grimm: a true crime podcast. If you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can go to Patreon and search Grimm: a true crime podcast. If subscriptions aren't your thing, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/GrimmCrimePodcast. And if you donate $5 or more, we will send the first 200 donors a 4-inch Grimm die cut sticker, which is pretty sweet. And if you have donated, please make sure that you email or reach out to me on Instagram or send a private message on Buy Me a Coffee with the address where you would like me to send your sticker. Please and thank you. Follow us on Instagram at Grimm Crime Podcast for information on future episodes and case photos. If you want to send us a case suggestion or just say hi, you can email us at grimmcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Listen, learn, and stay alive until next time, because the future is grim.